What might be Australia's biggest class action began in Melbourne today. 34,000 ANZ customers are challenging the bank's fees and charges, which lawyers are calling exorbitant. But the bank says it's charging a fee for service. If the class action is successful, it could have big implications for the banking industry, and a further 12 banks and lenders may face legal action, as Emily Stewart reports.
There has long been a chorus of anger from customers about bank fees, but now 34,000 of them are taking their complaints to a new level, forcing banks to explain their actions.
I know they're concerned. Reputational risk is high on all banks' priorities at the moment. This is not a good look for the banks.
The $50 million class action is being funded by Financial Redress, a subsidiary of litigation company IMF.
It's pretty obvious how the public recognise these fees. The question now is how a court categorises these fees. Justice
Michelle Gordon told the packed courtroom that she's not holding a royal commission into banking. Lawyers for Maurice Blackburn claim ANZ is charging exorbitant fees for overdrafts, over the limit and late payment fees on credit card accounts. In outlining their case, they cited centuries-old English law to argue banks should be charging reasonable fees, not penalties.
What the law says is that it's entirely appropriate where someone breaches a contract for the innocent party to recover a genuine pre-estimate of their damages. What we're saying is that the fees involved in this case are in no sense a genuine pre-estimate of damage.
The ANZ declined to comment on camera, but said in a statement it will vigorously defend the claims. And the fees in question are not penalties for a breach of contract, but associated with services provided by the bank. The hearing will focus on questions of law, rather than assessing the evidence around fees charged and costs incurred. However, if successful, it will set a precedent, and lawyers plan to fight another 12 cases against banks and lenders.
If the whole 12 cases that we've got under management went our way, probably 400 million, something of that nature. The bigger question is actually what happens to the people who haven't signed up for our action. I mean, of whom that's probably 90% of the country, and that's a $5-6 billion question.
Banking analyst Paul Dowling says banks made $13 billion from fees last year, and only 10% of that was from exception fees, which are largely being phased out anyway. But he argues the banks still have a lot to lose.
The impact on their margin will be significantly higher than on their revenue. I think the big fallout for them is more one of reputation and standing in the markets here.
The initial hearing is expected to wrap up within days, with a further hearing to go through more evidence set for next year.